Shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the American people turned against the Japanese Americans living in the U.S., relocating them to internment camps across the West.
The camps were surrounded by barbed wire fences, armed guards, and in some cases tanks. The conditions were harsh, people could only take what they could carry, and the rest were sold for cheap. The camps weren't even prepared for the Japanese Americans. Most of the buildings, including schools as well as winter insulation for their homes, had to be built by the same people who were imprisoned in the camps.
The U.S. President at the time, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, came under fire from the U.S. citizens stating, "It is inhumane and unjust that we as Americans in free America have enslaved the innocent." But many believe that this was a valid option and think it may have aided in the fear lessening of Japanese Americans.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. Living in that zone were more than 100,000 persons of Japanese ancestry, 2/3 of them American citizens, 1/3 aliens. We knew that some among them were potentially dangerous. Most were loyal, but no one knew what would happen among this concentrated population if Japanese forces should try to invade our shores. Military authorities therefore determined that all of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move. This picture tells how the mass migration was accomplished. Neither the Army nor the War Relocation Authority relished the idea of taking men, women, and children from their homes, their shops, and their farms. So the military and civilian agencies alike determined to do the job as a democracy should, with real consideration for the people involved. First attention was given to the problems of sabotage and espionage. Now, here at San Francisco, for example, convoys were being made up within sight of possible Axis agents. There were more Japanese in Los Angeles than in any other area. At nearby San Pedro, houses and hotels occupied almost exclusively by Japanese were within a stone's throw of a naval air base, shipyards, oil wells. Japanese fishermen had every opportunity to watch the movement of our ships. Japanese farmers were living close to vital aircraft plants. So as a first step, all Japanese were required to move from critical areas such as these. But of course, this limited evacuation was a solution to only part of the problem. The larger problem, the uncertainty of what would happen among these people in case of a Japanese invasion, still remained. That is why the commanding general of the Western Defense Command determined that all Japanese within the coastal area should move inland. Immediately, the Army began mapping evacuation areas and for a time encouraged the Japanese to leave voluntarily. The trouble for the voluntary evacuees soon threatened in their new locations. So the program was quickly put on a planned and protected basis. Thereafter, the American citizen Japanese and Japanese aliens made their plans in accordance with Army orders. Notices were posted. All persons of Japanese descent were required to register. They gathered in their own churches and schools, and the Japanese themselves cheerfully handled the enormous paperwork involved in the migration. Civilian physicians...
Well, that's all, folks. That's my line. Step aside, babe. Let a star do this. That's all! That's all, folks!
Can I go home now?